Hello everybody and welcome back to Newcastle Fans TV, where today we are going to be talking about player contracts, because we know that there is 3 first team footballers who are going to be out of contract this summer and there's several next year. Question for you at home, do you want to keep them? Let's begin.
Newcastle Fans TV.
Yes, good afternoon. Marvellous weekend here at St James's Park. Weather is beautiful, but the weather unfortunately is going to turn. It's going to get nasty. It's going to rain next week in a few days. Typical when I've got loads of time off. But there we go. But here we are at St James's Park. Lovely day, as I say. We're going to talk about contract expiry, because I think it's important, because we are expected to have a bit of a clear out this summer, especially with players not getting much game time, and Newcastle are expected to go out and improve the first team. So there'll be players who will be probably worried about the place, and not just on the first team as in start 11, a lot of them from the bench as well. So we've got 3 players who we know that are out of term, but a couple of them are probably likely to, in fact all 3 of them may extend. The first one is Fabian Schar, who has been pulled out of the Switzerland squad recently because of injury. He has been playing absolutely phenomenal. His best football, without a shadow of a doubt, has been played under Eddie Howe. I actually think that current form, Fabian Schar is playing better than even he did under Rafa Benitez, and he was player of the season for me when he first signed for Rafa Benitez. But I actually think on form right now he's playing better than he was back then. Obviously the longevity under Rafa, he had almost like a full season, but under Eddie Howe he's been incredible, man. Absolutely incredible, and he's out of contract this summer. For me, obviously, Eddie Howe's talked about some of these players on here, especially the ones and some of that want to look at extending them, and it's a no-brainer for me. Even if Newcastle go out and get Sven Botman or a Diego Carlos, Fabian Schar, for me, even if he is knocked down to second or third choice, has got to sign that contract for me. I think his form's proved it. He can play in the back too. I think he's proved that. The word doubts that he can't, because he likes to come out with the ball. I think he's slowed that down a little bit under Eddie Howe, and it's just his calmness, and you don't see him doing rash mistakes, fingers crossed. He hasn't done any. And for me, you've got to sign a contract extension, whether it's a 1 year or 2 year. I think there probably is a clause in his contract. That's just me speculating, because it was last season when we activated a clause for another year. Same again, please, for me. Let us know if you disagree on that, because I'm sure you won't on that. Paul Dummett, a local lad. Now, we all know that Paul Dummett I think he's better at left centre-back than he is at left-back. I think he is cover choice now for whoever plays at left-back, whether it's Matty Target, Jamal Lewis if he gets re-registered next season, Matt Ritchie. Paul Dummett always plays second fiddle, but he also can do a job at centre-back as well. I think he's naturally left side. I think he looks better there. He's not going to get up and down that left flank if he is playing left-back. So as a centre-back, I think Dummett is steady. I do fear that he might not get the contract extension because of his injuries. I think he's reliable. He's a 6 and 7 out of 10 most games. You very rarely pick on Paul Dummett and think he was shocking today. He's a 2, he's a 3, he's a 4 out of 10. So it's an interesting one with Dummett, because he's been here such a long time and he's a local lad. Do you reward that because of his longevity, because he's a Geordie, and of course you do need a certain amount of homegrown players in your 25-man squad. That needs to be took into consideration. But is he the right type of player for Newcastle to move on to that next level? I don't personally think so, but as a squad player at best, and that's probably it, because of his injuries. We're seeing it that Eddie Howe doesn't care about injuries. Isaac Hayden wasn't registered because of it. Jamal Lewis wasn't. That made his decision to not to register Lewis a lot more easier. So it's a tough one with Dummett. But for me, I would, from Newcastle's perspective, if we're going to go to the next level, I would allow Paul Dummett to leave, but his best squad player if he is sticking around. The next one is Sean Longstaff, with Eddie Howe has talked about Sean Longstaff signing that possible contract extension. For me personally, with Sean, I think his form's very erratic since Rafa Benitez has left. There's just the same players not there. You sprung into life under Rafa Benitez performing, and I just don't know. I just think there's too many people above him who are playing regularly. Obviously, we've signed Bruno Guimaraes. Joe Litton's been converted into midfielder. We've done a documentary on him recently. His form's sensational. You've got Isaac Hayden to come back into the side possibly. You've got Shelvey playing some of his best football. You've got Joe Willock, who's back in form. For me, if Eddie Howe continues to play in 3 midfield, yes, that would give him a lot more chances, especially for rotation. But for me, I would personally let Sean Longstaff go. Yes, he's a local lad, similar to Paul Dummett, but Dummett's been here longevity. If I had to pick between Dummett and Sean Longstaff, I'll go with Dummett if it comes down to it. But we're not doing that. But I just think Sean Longstaff needs to go and play regular first-team football in a higher-end championship club, or if he gets to move to another Premier League club, great. But I don't think he'll play a regular first-team football here. And if Sean does stay, I think he'll have to accept that. Again, let us know in the comments. We're going to move on to players who are contract expires next season, and these are according to transfermarket.co.uk, because there's a couple of surprises in there. I want to begin with Federico Fernandez, because I was looking and thinking Fernandez has another year on top of it, because last summer, they say transfermarket.co.uk say that he signed a 2-year deal last summer, and the Chronicle backed that up as well. So it's on the Chronicle as well. So I'm thinking that'll take Fernandez to 35. Now his contract is winding down. Obviously he hasn't played much under Eddie Howe. He started a lot of the season with Jamal Lascelles at the beginning of the season, where we conceded loads of goals. Would you keep him on? Personally, I would move him on in the summer, but he still has that year left. So at best, again, similar to Dummett, the squad players, aren't they? That's effectively what they are now. I think whether you like it or not, I think Jamal Lascelles is third choice centre-back at the moment behind Byrne and Fabian Schar. So if Schar stays, then you've got Lascelles third choice, and they are expected again to go in the market, as I say earlier on, to go and strengthen a Diego Carlos or Sven Botman. That'll push Lascelles down to fourth. What does that do for Fernandez, who can't get a game at the minute? Yes, and he's been injured, or Paul Dummett. For me, I would let Fernandez go. Jonjo Shelvey's the interesting one. He's out of contract next summer. He's playing some of his best football in a black and white shirt. He really is under Eddie Howe. You look at the stats when he doesn't play, Newcastle lose games. It's incredible. I put a tweet out on my personal Twitter, and if you're not following us, follow us. If Newcastle played under Eddie this season, Jonjo Shelvey, if Newcastle played 38 games, we would finish with just over 65 points, which is just short of a Champions League place last season. That's how important Jonjo Shelvey is. People call him lazy. People call him a form player. I would agree to some extent to that. I think he is very much of a form player, but he's on a high at the moment. Would it be a long-term contract? I would get him signed. I would, because I think you can't make too many changes in this squad. I think Shelvey's one to stay for me, and if that means that a better calibre player comes in the next 2 years, good. That'll be competition for him. But yeah, I would keep Jonjo Shelvey. I think he can bring something to the team, regardless of whoever comes in. Matt Ritchie, I expect him to go. He's another one out of contract next season. I expect him to leave this summer. I think he's down the pecking order now. He's not first choice anymore. So, and yes, he's had an injury recently, but over the last few years, Matt Ritchie's been predominantly featured in several positions. He obviously came as a right winger from Bournemouth. He played on the right in the Championship. He's been moved to the left. He's had a spell at left wing back. He's had a spell at left back. He's even put in centre midfield towards the end of games as well. I just can't see him staying long. I think he's talked about wanting to move down south near to his family as well, and I would probably allow that to happen this summer. Don't get me wrong, you can whip balls in. He's a great servant, he works, he's grafted his arse off, but again, similar to Paul Dummett and Sean Longstaff, is he that player to take you to that next level if Newcastle want to try and compete with Europe? Not for me. Next one, Ciaran Clark. I think that's pretty obvious. He wasn't registered for the 25-man squad. He wasn't even injured. So that tells you its own story with Ciaran Clark. I fully expect him to be out the door in the summer. I just cannot see him sticking about. He's not going to get registered. And we've talked about already on this video alone with centre-backs. So you've talked about all that already. I don't have to go through. Ciaran Clark's even below Paul Dummett. He's below Federico Fernandez. Time to move Ciaran Clark on. I think his form has been the worst this season than it's ever been at Newcastle. When he first came as well, he was sensational with Lascelles in the Championship and the first season in the Premier League. So, And the last one is Mark Gillespie. He's the last one on this list to his third choice. Would you sign a contract? I don't think Newcastle need to worry about this one as much, because you've got Freddie Woodman, who's out on loan. I think personally Freddie Woodman will leave the club. I think he has to. And I still think the goalkeeping department could look at being strengthened. I don't feel that Darlow and Dubravka are elite goalkeepers personally. I think Dubravka is probably second tier for me, but I would, with Gillespie, I wouldn't worry too much because he's a local lad. He knows he's not playing. He'd be coming into his 30s. Is he happy at the club? Probably. He's probably not happy that he's playing. I could see maybe a loan, maybe next season, 6 months to a club and whatever. And I don't think you need to worry about that. I think Gillespie, I would just let that contract run down and see how he feels and how the club feel about that. But there you go. I thought I'd bring you this video here on the weekend since it's nice and sunny at St James's Park. If you could smash that like, everybody, that would be absolutely wonderful. See you later, everyone. Ta-da.